June 30th. Welcome, everyone. Good to see a full house. First order of business is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting on May 26th. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes? So, I get a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, edits, changes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes, abstentions? It's approved. Now we're going to move on to recognitions of some well-tenured employees.
I'll say.
Jeez.
I'll say.
And we haven't done this in a while.
No, this is a return, well, our return to almost normal. So today we have 4 people. And if you include my years of service, you'll have almost 200 years of CDTA service. So we either really know how to do it right, or we know how to screw stuff up. I will leave it up. I will leave it up to the audience. So first up then is the junior member of the team, of this team, Mike Collins. So you know that well, I think you guys know how we do this, right? Jamie, Vanessa, actually Vanessa did the vast majority of this. Meets with the individual and tries to pry out of them, information, right, about their career. And as you would imagine, most people are somewhat tight-lipped. So it's a tough job, and Vanessa does the best that she could. So with Mike, especially, I know a heck of a lot more than is on this sheet, right? Because we've worked together pretty closely for 35 years. So
Not fair.
and it's not fair. In the interest of time and well, I guess good taste, I won't really go there. So I will follow the script. Wow. I'll follow the script. Okay. I only added a few things that I knew.
Thanks.
So Mike made a beeline for CDTA literally right out of college. Even how he got the job, Vanessa is not really right, but I'll stick to it. A state senator had nothing to do with it.
No.
State senator. Senator Howard Nolan is Mike's uncle, great guy, right? A great public servant.
Still alive.
Still alive and doing well. He was probably at the height of his power back in 1980s. But he made a beeline right out of college. Went to Nazareth College, which is in Rochester, right next door to St. John Fisher, which I know very well. I remember with my son driving into Nazareth, we got to the first building, and he said, "Turn around, Dad, this is not for me." But it was for Mike. He had many wild days out there. They visited St. John Fisher, as I recall. I remember his dad telling me, because his dad, there's a connection, his dad taught at CBA, taught one of my sons, actually. AP. His dad told me, yeah, we drove into St. John Fisher, a mattress came flying out the window, and we said, Mike, I don't think you're going.
Why did you go to St. John Fisher?
After graduating from Nazareth, we'll stop right there. I told you I wouldn't go anymore, but I do know a lot. Mike was going to buy the Hess Ice Company in Glens Falls and manage it and make it into a great business, but it didn't work out. And he responded to an ad for a personnel assistant here at CDTA and HR. Personnel assistant. I don't even think you have that job anymore. But after doing that job for a few years and doing it really well, Mike is promoted to manager of human resources. He worked for a guy who was legendary in Albany County, Ed Geyer from Cohoes. One of the real connected Democrats. Mike learned a lot about Albany County Democratic operations. But over a lot of jobs in HR, but to his job now as Vice President of Finance and Administration. That happened in 2009, so 11, 12 years ago. And really, Mike has, like a lot of us, worn many hats. You know most of this, the pension work, pretty much. That's all Mike. Labor relations, I told you, he's the calming influence. He's the good cop to whoever the bad cop might be. I've been wearing that bad cop hat for 10 or 12 years, but he is the good cop. Health insurance plans, pretty much He's handled that, gosh, 30 years. Denise just came from the investment committee meeting, and I said to Denise, how much money did we make? About that. but you know, it's $20 million. You know, so gotta keep an eye on that. Mike does all that, and lots more. He's volunteered as a board member at NAVA. Actually, I think, you know, we've had a CDTA seat along the way. Go on to Mike and say, Mike, I think you ought to be on the NAVA board. It's time for me to I'll do that. And he went from, I don't know if I want to do that, to be board chair. So that tells you, once it's a little convincing, but once you convince Mike, it's full force. He's also been the longtime president, right? Are you the only president? You and your dad, maybe?
My dad was for longer than that.
The board of the Phoenix Tree Association up in Screw Lake. I think you all know Mike's family been up in Screw Lake for many years, and he and his dad have pretty much, you know, architected that association. They've done a good job with it. Mike says he's always up for adventures. This is the very little that he told Vanessa. Credit staying in shape to running, which he does a lot, skiing, which he does both down mountains and on water. He didn't tell you that, did he? Just told you about the skiing. Oh, he did? Okay, all right. And golfing, which he says he does a lot here. He's not saying you do a lot. And every time I play with him, gee, Mike, you're playing so well. I hardly play. You know, kicks the living crap out of you. I hardly play. Says here though you play a lot, so that's good to know. Oh, a lifelong Yankee fan.
That's why we get along.
But I couldn't find him for the last few weeks. I couldn't find him.
So the Red Sox got lucky with him.
Twice. Couldn't find him. Or Jack Logan, or anybody else. And then you might not know, Dave Stackrow knows this very well. He's also a lifelong Miami Dolphin fan. You know, long suffering. Hopefully, they're over the top now, and the suffering, you know, might be over. But Yankees and Dolphins, that's an interesting combination. He and Kira have been married for 32 years. It's about as perfect a union, I think, as I've ever seen. Really? No, that's not a joke. That's dead serious. You know, they're the yin to the yang. As long as Mike does exactly what Kira says, it's fine. Because he lives in a house with 3 daughters, right? And great kids. I know each one of them. They have done an outstanding job. Kayla, Morgan, and Lindsay. Kayla's married. Morgan is in a month or so. Mike has been fretting about that. He was kind of one of the only people I know that was fingers crossed, hoping that, you know, we would stay and, you know, not be able to use a big space, right?
I was really hoping for that 1,500.
Yeah, now, he is an almost empty nester. It always seems like one of the girls or a nephew, somebody's always there, which is a great thing, right? But there's plenty of fun, plenty of adventure. Says something about here retirement, except retirement. No plan yet.
Not yet. Okay, good.
There's more, but we'll stop there. Just, you know, about as loyal a guy as you can find. You know, you talk about, you know, the day-to-day grind. You know, the guy to my left is the day-to-day grind every day. You know, we're here, you know, kind of always looking for a way to do something better, always looking for a way to, you know, save a couple of bucks or do things a little bit more efficiently. But you know, I'd say Mike is the example of what happens when you come to work every day and you do a good job. You have a career path that's CDTA. And I personally appreciate it. He's done a great job.
Well, thank you. took so long.
We could have been here a long time. Right, so these three guys.
What he left out, Mike, was the important part to the board, is that you keep Carm's spending in check.
Yeah. True.
Very true.
I don't know if that's true.
That's more than true.
Maybe a little, maybe a little.
Listen, you want to do good things, you gotta.
Spend money.
So the next three guys, I don't know as well as Mike, but I know each of them. I know their families, and I know a little bit about them. These are all 40 years. This is unusual. You get 30s, 35. We don't get a lot of 40s. And frankly, I'm not sure. It's sort of like sports, right? I'm not sure you're going to see too many more 40s come along. But first up, Danny Byrne. Come on up, Dan. One of Troy's finest.
Yeah. Now, yeah.
Fresh out of high school. Troy?
Oh, no, so.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. That
Yeah.
wasn't written here. I didn't get a cheat sheet.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Actually, I greeted you so warmly. I'm not, guys. Spent 35 years in maintenance, over 35 years in the maintenance department, mainly in Troy, cleaning engines, working on inspections, changing tires, you know, the real day-to-day stuff that keeps the fleet moving, right? We don't talk a lot about that, but really that's the sort of the basis of operation. He recently joined the facilities department based here in Albany, and he's part of the shelter group with a focus on the blue line, really, the blue line corridor. You know, we've devoted a lot of resources, and we need good people to make sure that those stations are kept up to a certain, to a high level. And Jeremy Smith runs the facilities department, and it really has insisted that we raise the bar. Guys like Dan, are more than willing to keep that looking as good as it does. Dan says working at CDTA is providing him with a lot of lasting relationships and a secure career, right? We're not going anywhere, right?
No, I hope so.
He really likes working with all his friends and colleagues out on the road. He gets to see everybody, right? He gets to see operators. He gets to see Billy Plunkett, right?
Billy Plunkett.
Billy Plunkett. He's in the fare box. You don't get to see Freddie as much anymore. We got Freddie busy inside. When he leaves CDTA, though, every day the work is not done. Dan has had for a lot of years a part-time lawn business and keeps, how many accounts you got?
Right now I got like 15.
Oh, you're slowing down.
Before I had 30.
Yeah, I knew that. 15 was, so 15, 20 accounts, while he's working at CDTA. He enjoys hanging out with his wife Maureen, their daughter Casey. Lots of vacations to the Cape. You been there yet this year?
We're going in a couple weeks.
Can't
Can't wait.
Big fan of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. We all are, right? But I don't know if I like this Broadway version.
Yeah, no, I've never been to that.
I don't like the cleaned up version.
Yeah, no, I like the E Street Band.
The E Street Band. How many times have you seen it?
Over 20.
Over 20. So he's a member of that club. But really another sort of, these guys are like part of the woodwork, right? They're just, they keep the organization up and running every day. This is there's 4 guys from completely different parts of the company, but we can't do it without guys like Dan. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks,
By the way, they're in no particular order. I think we just do a straw. Mr. Plunkett. This is one of my early morning guys. I usually see him, 6:30, 6:45, right about here. What's going on?
Yeah, there's a crosswalk.
Yeah, I know. I gotta learn to use the crosswalk. Usually that time of the morning, It's only buses, I guess. So Billy's been here since 1981, working in the maintenance department, making sure buses and equipment run smoothly. This is the familiar steps in the maintenance department that you've heard about. He started as a cleaner in the Troy division and quickly worked his way up to first-class mechanic. Moving to the Albany division, spent about 18 or 20 years as a master tech, which is the highest level that you can attain in the maintenance department. And for the last number of years, it says number, I'm not sure how many years, a long time, Bill has been focused on taking care of fare boxes. So you see him out on the road a lot. Whenever there is a fare box issue, Billy is dispatched to diagnose, fix it, hopefully on the spot, so that we don't, really, right, collect fares. Right, because, well, that's, you and Collins are close, right? Make sure, Mike doesn't like to hear that we just close the fare box down until we drive no free rides, but it worries me a little bit because he knows so much. We gotta find a way to make sure we pass the knowledge of the fare boxes. I call him the dean of fare box technology right now. He's been working on those GFI fare boxes for a long time. But Bill's roots here are way deeper than just his tenure. He's got a long family history at CDT that goes back to the United Traction Company, one of the predecessor companies. Bill's father was a bus operator in Troy for more than 20 years, and his father-in-law, John Rochelle, was a mechanic here for more than 35 years. So, think of that, 20, 35, 55, 40, almost 100, well, we have a role sharing too, so we got about 125 years of service. There's probably some family member that I don't have in here, but the family connections don't stop with his father and father-in-law. His wife, Sherry Rochelle, who's here with us, is Treasury Supervisor. So this whole money thing is in the business. He makes sure that the fare box works right, and Sherry makes sure that everything as far as security of our finances are in place. So they're really working to make sure that customer revenue line is up there. But you're looking at in family here 70 years of service, which is just amazing. In their spare time, they like going to local car shows and showing off the '78 Bronco that Billy and his son rebuilt. It's a showpiece. It's a great piece of work. He says spending at least a year here before the time. Maybe we'll stretch that out a little bit. We are looking for an apprentice to learn the fare box fixing business, because it's a little bit of an art, a little bit of a science, a little bit of a just be patient, right? You got to know when to kick it. But sometimes you kick it and it works. Bill, thank you to you and your family. Great employee for 4 years. Last but not least, Mr. Fred Newman. Ready? It's another family story. I remember your dad, I remember him well. Fred grew up watching his dad, Fred, work at the United Traction Company and here at CDTA. Kind of a smaller version of Fred, right? but similar guys, really similar guys. And he followed Fred Sr. To CDTA and started on June 8th, 1981 as a cleaner. And again, you're gonna be very familiar with this story. Moved from cleaner to helper, to second-class mechanic, eventually to the rank of first-class mechanic. And then it was a bunch of specialty jobs. Fred for a while was in charge of the Star on Star buses. He was the lead guy on Star buses. Then I remember Freddie was over in the paint shop. He was the lead guy in the paint shop. Paint body. Did that. And then ultimately, and this was a surprise to me, but this is really when I think the organization got better, when you decided I can share my knowledge with a lot of the guys coming up. He's a trainer now. So you've got a 40-year guy who has, you think about that, worked on Star buses, worked on regular buses, worked in the paint shop, worked in the, there's not much that Freddie doesn't know. So to get him to be able to share that with the workforce, that's not that was a turning point, I think, for us. And really he's helped with what we talk about happening in Mansfield. It's really, it's a different place, right? It's a different place than
Well, a lot of things have changed for
a lot
sure.
of things have changed. And it's a different place than we adapted to. I'm not saying better, I'm just saying different. And we've, I think, adapted because of guys like Fred. He's been into cars his whole life, so working at CDTA has been a great opportunity for him to do what he likes to do. He says he appreciates the proactivity of the company, especially the on-the-job training that he's in the middle of. We train our own in maintenance. We bring in a lot of good people, but we're still able to train our own. In his free time, Fred likes to take cruises and road trips,
Absolutely.
right? With the one and only, right, Amy Newman.
Lovely ride.
Lovely ride. Amy's also our manager of access and customer service at the call center. Combined, they have 60 years of CDTA service. So there's just a lot of years here of people who have, devoted their lives, their professional lives, their adult lives to CDTA. I'm proud of every one of them. They just do a great job. These people are the fabric of our company. We wouldn't be where we are without them. That's it. Thank you. Oh, I forgot about the 3 pigs.
Oh,
So Fred and Amy, hang on, I got the names too. They got 3 pigs, Grayless, Mickey, and Molly. And I
Rylus and Mikey.
screwed up, but I thought we were gonna get a visit. Guess not.
Next time.
Next time.
Oh, look what you know.
So it doesn't get much better than that in my book. Every part of the company is represented. Just these guys I look forward to seeing every day. Usually get a smile. Hey, how you doing? Or in my case, a little bust of a chop. That's fine by me. By one of them. Usually Billy Blanket. Not me. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Carm. Thanks everyone for coming in. Long time working in one place. That is kind of a lost breed.
Lost. Dwight Evans.
Yeah.
For those of you. Cool.
We'll move on to the committee reports, and I'll provide the first one, which is the Board Operations Committee that met on June 16th, in person via Microsoft Teams. The committee reviewed the agendas for the committee meetings and today's board meeting as well. Carm presented an overview of the CEO company work plan for the next 12 months. This will be a transition year as CDTA works out of the pandemic and business gets back to normal throughout the region. We're also welcoming 2 new board members who were appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate in June. Peter Wall will represent Saratoga County, and Joseph Sperano will represent Rensselaer County. Carm and I will be providing them with some orientation and on board them throughout the month of July. We're grateful that they're joining us, fill a couple of vacant seats for many years now, and we'll have more to follow on meeting with the new board members prior to the September board meeting. We also discussed making some minor changes to the appearance and composition to the board meeting agenda. It was agreed to remove the item calling for approval of the agenda and ascertaining a quorum. The changes don't alter the way we conduct our business. The next meeting of the committee is scheduled for Wednesday, August 18th at 9:15 a.m. Again, right here at 110 Waterville Avenue and via Microsoft Teams. Now we're moving on to Investment Committee. No report on that. Now we'll do the Performance Monitoring Audit Committee. David Stackrow is going to make the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Filling in for Denise, who had a leave for another committee meeting. I was not at the committee meeting, so I'm reading a report without having the presence of being there live. So I'll rely on staff for any fill-in that may need to be made. Several consent agenda items. First is resolution number 27 for approval of MCI motor coach purchases. Consistent with our fleet replacement plan, staff recommends the purchase of 2 MCI commuter-style buses off of the Connecticut Department of Transportation contract. These purchases replace buses that have passed their useful life. They are used for our NX commuter service. The contract is with Motor Coach Industries, MCI, for a total cost of $1,055,526. We need a motion to award a contract for 2 buses to MCI of Schaumburg, Illinois, for an amount not to exceed $1,055,526.
Can I get a motion to approve Resolution 27?
So moved.
Thank you, Jackie.
Second.
Mike, thank you for the second. Any comments, discussion about this item?
Just for those that weren't, this is a piggyback contract. We are allowed to piggyback on certain contracts. We do this with, as they said, Connecticut DOT. We do it because they purchase large amounts of these commuter coaches, and we're able to get, frankly, a price that's very, very attractive. We would not be able to get this price on our own.
All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Abstentions? Mark has an abstention. It's approved.
Thank you. Resolution number 28 seeks approval of a contract for camera purchase. Staff recommends the purchase of cameras for trolleys and the aforementioned commuter coaches. These are the last buses that do not have cameras. With this purchase of 17 cameras, all buses will be equipped with cameras. We need a motion to award a contract to March Networks of Atlanta, Georgia for 17 camera systems for $105,086.
Can I get a motion to buy some cameras?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Mike?
Second.
Thank you, Dave. Any comments about this matter? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's approved.
Resolution number 29 requests approval for a contract for fare boxes. As our flex service expands, we need to equip vehicles with fare boxes. We need a motion to award a contract to SPX Corporation of Elk Grove Village, Illinois for 8 fare boxes in the amount of $115,924.
Good motion on this?
So moved.
Thank you, Jackie. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Can you remind me, Carm, on this one, how many fare boxes we're talking about, or covers a longer period of time?
8, and it's an estimate of what the additional vehicle procurement will be for Flex. And frankly, if Flex goes the way we think, we'll probably be back here looking for additional fare boxes because we hope to grow that service. And we also continue to work with our provider who we need the same type of box that we use on a 40-foot bus, use on these small flexible vehicles. Unfortunately, right now, this is all we can do.
Yes, Mark.
Just note that $115,000 for 8 fare boxes is about $12,000. It seems like a lot, but fare boxes are essential.
Yeah. But when you consider how this is used there's a better way, we just haven't gotten there yet. We'll be there.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved.
Thank you. Resolution number 30 seeks approval of a contract for scheduling software. As this software is used for fixed route scheduling, the maintenance contract includes software updates and issue resolution. Staff recommends a one-year sole source maintenance contract to Juro. We need a motion to award this contract to Juro of Montreal, Quebec, Canada for an amount not to exceed $156,228.
Get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Dave. Clark, yes.
Question, this schedules buses and drivers?
Yeah, it really schedules drivers, it builds their workday, basically. It's a pretty sophisticated program, perhaps our most sophisticated piece of software. There's no other vendor who we would do this. We're caught in between multi-year contracts right now, so we're doing a 1 year. We'll be back to the committee and the board next year with a multi-year.
Scheduling the drivers, non-trivial problem.
To say the least. To say the least. It's sometime if we really have maybe a spare 45 minutes, we'll go through the process. It's depends on your perspective, either interesting or just completely confusing. But it's something, to say the least. Envision 450 drivers, 50 routes, thousands of pieces of work, vacations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's difficult stuff. And then, of course, work rules, contract. It's all built into this software. Somehow it keeps track of it. Somehow.
Using it for a long time.
We have, what time, do you remember how long? 2000.
That's when you celebrated your 20th anniversary.
That was just a kid.
Any other comments, questions about this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution number 31 is for the approval of a contract for electric car share program. We will pilot a new car sharing program which will be coordinated by the Mobility Development Group. Staff recommends a multi-year contract to Mobility Development Group at a total cost of $840,000. We need a motion to award a 3-year contract with 2 optional renewals to Mobility Development Group of Chicago, Illinois for an amount of $840,000.
So move.
Second,
I'll second.
thank you. Any questions, comments? It was a very good discussion we had in committee, very exciting program.
Yeah, hats off to John Scherzer on this one. You know, John and I said, we can't run this thing ourselves. I mean, it's sort of like bikes and scooters. We need a day-to-day manager, and he found Mobility Development Group because it's a specialty item. So you know, they will basically be the day-to-day managers here. If it goes well, you know, I think this is really another piece of that mobility, menu, mobility management that we've talked about. There's the new mission statement. I can tell you, I talked to a reporter, the Washington Post, Jamie said, I was asking about different things that we're doing. He said, whoa, I don't know too many systems that bikes, buses, scooters, and you're dabbling in car shares. Yeah, we just think that if it's on wheels, we should manage it. So we're a little different. I say that in a good way and a little different.
Yes, Mark.
Two questions. How many vehicles are we talking about?
We're hoping for 10.
And how is charging going to work?
John, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's part of the work mobility development group once we get going. So they'll review the area where there's electrical setups now, where we might be able to get some infrastructure put in. So the idea is to start with Albany, 4 to 6 cars preferably by the end of the year, 10 within the next 18, 24 months. If everything goes well over the term that Dave discussed from 3 to 5 years, we could be as high as 20 or 30 with some grants. So that's the fact line that they'll do over the next couple of months, and we hope to be ready for
October-ish.
Good stuff. Absolutely.
Yep.
Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution number 32 is for the approval of the Disadvantaged Enterprise Program. The FTA requires grantees to have a Disadvantaged Business Enterprise or DBE goal, program and goal in accordance with DOT regulations. The program is updated every 3 years. The DBE goal is calculated by identifying procurement opportunities by business segment and determining the relative number of DBEs available in those segments. Staff is recommending a goal of 4.7%. Need a motion to approve the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Goal Plan for federal fiscal years 2022 through 2024.
Can I get a motion on this? So moved. Second? Second. Thank you, Mark. Any questions? Yeah.
How is DBE defined? How does it relate to MWBE?
Right, I'm gonna ask the staff expert on that, because I never get it right. Stace?
Sure, so, they're totally separate programs. Whereas the state minority women's business program has a 30% utilization mandate. The DBE program is set up slightly differently. It's based upon your actual projects, the number of firms in business for different sectors that your projects are in, such as construction, computer, hardware, software, and the relative number of DBEs available. So they're not related programs. I wish they were, because I think that both programs would benefit from that, but that is above, I guess, my ability to make suggestions. So they're not at all intertwined, and actually most of the DBEs we work with are not MWBEs, and vice versa, the MWBEs don't even know there's a DBE program.
So how is DBE defined?
It is defined by creating a level playing field for firms that qualify and go through the process of becoming certified, so that they can compete for federally funded programs.
Does FTA certify? Who certifies the DBE?
They are done state by state. So in our case, we have the New York State Unified Certification Program, MTA, Port Authority, because actually New Jersey is part of our certifying, Buffalo, and Centro also certify. So any one of those groups that certify, then they go into that pool, and there's a directory that we utilize. A firm that is certified by, for example, state of Florida, unless they go ahead and certify in the DBE program in New York State, they do not count for our utilization. It's only firms certified for New York State United Certification.
Yeah, you know, and Stacy talked about this at the committee meeting. This program, the number, the 4.7%, is actually less than what we achieved last year or the year before, because it's formulaic. Stacy goes through this elaborate formula, and it spits the number out, and that's your goal. So there's a little bit of science, there's a little bit of a ton of recruitment on the part of Stacy and procurement. I mean, they recruit, they actively look for people, but frankly, it's not the easiest program sometimes to navigate, on both sides.
Any other questions or comments?
Stacy, what was it ultimately that drove us to come up with the 4.7% participation versus, which was a reduction from last time? What was it ultimately in that equation?
Sure, it was fewer available DBEs. I think the last year has been significantly harder on small businesses, and there was a dramatic reduction in DBEs in the state of New York, and that caused the decrease.
And I think a lot of people sometimes get confused too. The DBE program is much different than the W and MBE. They're similar, but they're different, and it's calculated differently. So just make sure everyone's aware of that.
Yeah, and it's not easy, and that is what is frustrating. You know, Stacy will often say, you know, it's very difficult sometimes for, especially small businesses, to go through the certification, qualification process. We have plenty of work here. It's not like, you know, we don't have work or projects at which people can participate in, or companies can participate in. So it just strikes us as being a little difficult, being somewhat kind.
Well, not all M and WBEs qualify in the DBE program. The DBE program is more based on the company's revenue.
It would be easy if there was one point of entry. But there's not.
Different federal versus state funding too.
Yeah, oh yeah. That gets interesting too. The amount of money.
But Stacy does an amazing job in keeping track of this, and
Any other comments on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's approved. Continue with the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Investment Committee, I know Denise did meet earlier with Mike and Bob Ennis, I presume. So we will have an Investment Committee report that will come out of that meeting shortly. Administrative discussion items from the meeting. Rich Nasso gave the annual report on bus accidents. There were 411 accidents this year, which was a reduction of 161 accidents. The accident rate decreased from 5.5 to 4 per 100,000 miles in fiscal year 21. There was a small uptick in preventable accidents. About 40% were from new operators, which is a consistent metric. Our safety staff continues to incorporate safety management systems, or SMS, through risk assessments, identifying hazards, training, and improving our safety culture. The report was included in our packets. The annual workplace safety report was given by Jack Brogan. Work injuries decreased to 80. The number of claims has been relatively consistent over the past several years. The majority of injuries are back and shoulder, and we are developing strategies to minimize these injuries. The major cost drivers are the state mandated maximum weekly benefit, which will increase to $1,063 in July, and scheduled loss of use awards. We are identifying claims management, reinstituting bi-weekly meetings, and collaborating with the New York State Business Council. The monthly management report was provided by Mike Collins. MRT continues to be very good with $1.4 million in the month of May. Customer and rail station revenue performed well, albeit a little bit lower than budget expectations. Total revenue exceeded budget by 10%. Wages were up 38% due to a one-time bonus from the new labor agreement. Workers' compensation costs were down 40% because of several recoveries this month. Other benefits were down 19% because of timing issues with unemployment insurance and contractual pension payments, and total expenses are up 4.5% for the year. We remain in good financial position. We will make a budget adjustment in August to reflect changes that took place after we approved our budget. Monthly non-financial report was provided by Chris Desney. Ridership is up 19% versus the same time last year. That's good news. Star ridership is up 78% from last year. Fixed route on-time performance was 79%. Star on-time performance was 80%. And that concludes the report.
Thank you, Dave. Good job, Tim Shinnig.
Thank
Last
you.
minute too. I mean, he thought he had the day off.
I got a handoff and I didn't fumble it.
Hey, just a quick note, Dave mentioned, ridership is starting to come back, which is great. There's some big numbers in Star, and that's been kind of for the lance few months. So, Lance and his team looked into that, and a lot of medical trips, about 15% increase in medical trips, but it's no surprise being driven primarily by work trips, return to work. So, again, I don't know if there was a lag with that population on the return to work, but they're checking the journey to work box on those trips. So we're watching it closely, but we're 2/3 of the way home on Star. Still a little ways to go, but that's come back. Surprising a little bit to us, but it's come back quicker.
Good try. And we'll move on to the next committee report by Jackie Falatico, Community and Stakeholder Relations Committee.
Thank you. And I just want to say thanks to Pat for standing in last week. So I had a kid-free vacation for 2 days. It was lovely. So the Community and Stakeholder Relations Committee met on June 24th at 11:15 here in person and on Microsoft Teams. The first item, John Scherzer gave an overview of summer services returning after being suspended last year due to the pandemic. The Summer Fun Pass, the Saratoga Trolley, and Grafton Lake State Park Transportation will all return in July. These popular offerings will continue to be a part of CDTA's summer service as they provide access and connections to the community that may not be possible if it weren't for CDTA. Allison Treffler presented the quarterly social media report. Her report outlined the increase in social media activity across all CDTA platforms and highlighted content which played a big role in the recent increase. One of the stories highlighted was of Albany operator LaRonda Donnelly's career and how she is the first female to be at the top of the union seniority lists. Albany Mayor Kathy Sheehan presented LaRonda with a proclamation during an event at CDTA. That social media post has been viewed more than 3,000 times with more than 100 shares and 500 comments. Jamie Watson presented the monthly media and community relations report. During the last month, CDTA had 35 earned media placements across television, radio, and online. Some of the stories highlighted were the launch of CDPHP Cycle in Warren County, the Albany County Nature Bus, and CDTA's partnership with the Alzheimer's Association for the Driving Out Alzheimer's campaign. Looking forward, CDTA will be launching electric scooters to the public, celebrating this year's Community Champions at a ceremony on July 30th, and rolling out Flex in Saratoga County later this summer. The next meeting of the committee will be on Thursday, August 26th at 11:15 a.m. here at 110 Waterley Ave and via Microsoft Teams.
Thank you, Jay.
A couple stories in the story, unintended there. But I think maybe underestimating LaRonda's achievement. I mean, in a very male-dominated industry, to be the #1 person on the seniority list. It caught a lot of attention. The mayor came up here, with a bunch of people going to LaRonda Donnelly Day and all of it. So that's interesting. And then social media. Staff's really taken to that. And that's where we need to go because, the conventional media I happened to be out my driveway the other morning and the guy who throws the paper in the driveway, basically just tossed me the paper and he had just dropped one of my neighbors. I live about 2/3 of the way down the street and I watched him drive up the street. There were no other paper drops. It was along the street. So the days of conventional media, I think, are numbered. It's great to see staff embrace social media, really raise their presence.
We'll move on to the final committee report by
I have a
Mike
question
Rochelle.
which I think pertains
Sure.
to this committee, I'm not sure. I noted that the nature bus was introduced on June 12th. I'm wondering how much publicity was done and anything about ridership?
Tons of publicity, for sure, right, Jamie? I mean, it got tons of attention.
Yeah, we held a media event at Five Rivers the day that, a couple days before it launched, which had coverage from all of the TV stations and local papers. And then we also covered it on social media as well. And we partnered with a number of local preserves and obviously state parks. They shared it on their social media as well. So there's been quite a bit of promotion, and we've also continued that since it runs every Saturday. We have a coordinated effort with those preserves and parks to keep the social media promotion going as well. And the other part of that's ridership, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, when you start a new service, much like we did with the Green Market Trolley right before it too, you're building it up. So first week was a little bit light, I think it was a couple days old. Second week, we started to get some information from the parks and Five Rivers in particular that people were starting to show up. So we're probably looking at about half full buses on some of the ones for the most part. So I think it'll continue to grow, and that is one of the most exciting groups we've ever worked with. So
That's something I wanted to see for decades. Very happy to see it happening.
So we'll move on to the Strategic and Operational Planning Committee report by Mike Bishop.
Thank you, Jamie, and good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see everybody, and also the staff recognition. Good to see that reinstated. The Strategic and Operational Planning Committee met last Thursday here at 110 Waterville Ave via Microsoft Teams. We had one administrative discussion item, and that was the Albany Garage expansion. We took a tour. Chris Desney summarized the purpose of the Albany Garage expansion and its relationship to all the construction activities underway for the Washington Western BRT. Jeremy Smith introduced Adam Slade, our construction manager on the project, and then proceeded to provide an overview of the scope of the work. This initiative is part of the $77 million CIG grant, $11 million of which is allocated to the garage. The work is being performed by LaChase and includes a 23,000 square foot storage house expansion, in-ground articulated lifts, a new foreman's office, and new vaults and bus washes. So far, we are satisfied with LaChase's work, all of this happening while we continue to operate service out of the Albany division. We discussed the schedule and then proceeded on a tour of the facility. Before I conclude the report, I just want to thank all the men and women of the organization for everything that's been accomplished since last March. Different facility expansions in Troy, Schenectady, here in Albany, and they've done a great job as always, and just commend their service. So thank you to everyone.
Appreciate everybody walking out to us.
Yeah, sorry I missed the tour,
Anybody
but I
who
did
wants-
stop on the highway and
And looked.
jumped out and took a look.
Sure you did.
I told you not to do
The state police are still looking for it. But anybody who wants to tour at any time, just let us know. There's just so much stuff going on. When you see that, it kind of helps you to make sense of what we did in front. Why we did it. It kind of puts the pieces together. But we are out of room. We're within literally 10 feet of the hill here up back. It also gives you an idea of how cramped everything is. Good job, by everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Georgie, I know you love a construction site tour as much as I do, so come on down to Albany one of these days.
Looking forward to it.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the CEO report. Gar, sure. You're up.
Sure. Well, you guys have done really all my work. I've reported on a lot of stuff. So I'll just try to pluck a few more highlights. But it's great to be in summer. It's, for those of us that like the warm weather, it's great. And lots of activities. It used to, when I can say these kinds of things. When I was younger here, summer was sort of like, time to take vacation. Everything kind of slowed down. We're still encouraging people to take vacation, but there's just no slowdown. It's just project after project, activity after activity. But the committee reports, I was thinking about this yesterday, the committee reports really are doing what they're designed to do, right? We call it the Doug Eady School, but it's really what it was. And everything is designed so that the reports of the committee chairs are reflective of everything that's happening here at CETA. Just, maybe I'll send this video to Doug, right? And say, Doug, it works. It does work. And the reports are made by board members, not by staff. There's a little help by staff, some cheat sheets and stuff. But I think we have a model that works and it does exactly what it's intended. So bringing on new board members, we can point to this kind of stuff and say, if you sit here and pay attention, you really do get the pulse of the company. So that's great. And really, it's great to see us expand the mobility menu. We're doing what we said we would do. Or in some ways, we're willing to venture into the land of the unknown. Scooters, for example, are unknown, but if we gauge the reaction of our employees, we went to all 3 divisions. We've been letting people play with them. The reaction is just outstanding. It's like over the top. they're just fun, they're easy to use. You literally just depress the choke and away you go. The brakes work pretty well. But these are going to be short, purposeful trips, and we'll ferret out. I'm sure there'll be some issues and some problems, but Lindsay Garney and John's shop manages bikes and will manage scooters in the same sort of way. She's been a great find for us, done a great job. I think scooters, or Scoot, excuse me, will be a success. But it's interesting, as we move to scooters and cars, bikes have become mature now. It's almost like they sort of run on their own. But just a couple of facts for you. Almost 500 bikes. In 12 weeks, we've got 25,000 rides, and there's 20,000 members. And it just every day just hums along. If I had a nickel for every time someone asked me, why do I never see bikes in the rack? I'd be rich. That's great. It's because they're all out being used. But you seldom, you'll see a bike or two in a rack because people use them to get around town. And as you know, I think we mentioned in one of the reports, we're in Warren County, and for me, that's not an accident. We've always looked to Warren County as perhaps the next area to expand. But in addition to bikes being in Warren County, we're right now helping to operate their seasonal trolley service. Interestingly enough, they rely on summer help. Tends to be older people and school bus operators who have the summer off that operate that very popular seasonal trolley in Glens Falls, in the village, and then connections between those two destinations. It's not many people. So Scott Sobczyk reached out to us almost at the same time we were talking about bikes, and said, can you do something? And we put together an arrangement that protects both parties, a memorandum of understanding. But every day there's at least one CDTA operator operating a trolley. Most days it's two. So for those that want an ability to make a little extra money, but also to show Warren County people what we can do. That's a municipally operated system, City of Glens Falls. Scott's nearing retirement, and they're trying to decide what they want to do. What's the best move? We're whispering that we're here to help, and we can do more. So it's a little different than Montgomery County. Very mature, well managed, well organized system. Wouldn't take much for a larger public authority to be named at some other time to assume that operation. So hats off though to a lot of people in the room, and hats off to our bus operators and supervisors who are going up there every day to make sure that very popular service is maintained. Talk about the construction. We're still under construction in Troy. It's the internal part of the project, locker rooms, bathrooms. But hopefully that'll be done shortly. Thankfully, our COVID report is very static, not much new to report. We did have a positive last week. It's just sort of the reminder that it's still here, it's still a threat to all of us. But we continue to encourage employees to be vaccinated. That's a slow go, but we'll continue in that regard. Reminder, we have not lifted the public transportation mask requirement, so people on public transportation, CDTA buses, have to wear a mask, and our operators have to wear a mask. I can tell you right now it's not a pleasant situation, a lot of conflict. People come out of Stewart's, for example, without a mask. Why do I have to wear a mask on a bus? Well, you have to wear a mask on a bus. So it's not our rule, but there's a lot of points of conflict, and we're doing our best with that. I try to keep you up to date on all the vaccination buses we have out there. We have a VAX bus in Rensselaer County. We have a VAX trolley over in Schenectady. And we get daily requests. We're always sending something somewhere to get people vaccinated. I talked to John McDonald this morning. He was at a vaccination clinic. It's one of the days you vaccinate 3 or 4. So it's unfortunately though, it's onesies and twosies though, right?
Slugging, yes.
It's slugging, but we're in it, right? And as we say, we're a community resource. That's what we do. as Jamie said, we're gonna get Peter and Joe in here next week and sort of get them through the orientation. We'd like to have an event, meet and greet, or maybe meet and greets plural. It's only 11. We all know Joe. I know Pete a little bit. Jamie and Georgie know him even better. But what little I know of him, he's a really good addition. Maybe
Yeah.
Mark might not, but I can't remember else was here. Remember there was a
Yeah, I didn't remember
couple
when
of
the
months.
crossover happened.
I know.
And he's looking forward to coming back, which is good. That was when someone was looking forward.
Filling his own vacancy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's an interesting story. We'll do that at another time. Just a couple of notes from the activity report, things I want to point out. We talked about the maintenance department and the change that's gone on. It's really noticeable to me. Earlier this month, we started 3 new assistant superintendents in maintenance. 3 at one time. That never happened. And all 3 of them are on that familiar career path. They're all, they came out of the foreman or trainer ranks. These are really, really technical people. This is the new maintenance department. Dave Williams is shepherding that along, but I just enjoy talking with him because he just knows so much about maintenance. We've got all these ideas and new ways to do business. I think you're going to see continued improvement in maintenance. I can't remember us promoting 3 people and then 3 people out of the bargaining unit. Nary a peep, but I guess it's good so long as Dave fills those 3 jobs, but really smart people. I think you know that Mike Franchini, who's been the executive director over at CDTC, our partner in funding crime, so to speak, is retiring. He hoped to retire in July, but the executive committee, of which I'm a member, has not moved really as quickly as possible on recruiting. But we're down to interviews, so we're interviewing candidates, internal and external candidates. Remember, CDTC is about a dozen professional planners, but long-range vision, long-range transportation things. But most importantly to us, all federal funding, transportation funding, flows through CDTC. And they have been very aware and very supportive of transit and transit initiatives, especially on the BRT set-asides and things of that nature. So it's in our best interest here to find a candidate who's pro-transit. So I bring the pro-transit bent to the table. Also, earlier this month, we had about 60 employees at our annual Exemplary attendance lunch. It was I point that out for 2 reasons. One, people who are in the Exemplary attendance lunch are the cream of the crop. I mean, they're the ones who show up every single day. It's no surprise that people with exemplary attendance are also great performers in all the other areas. But it was our first major event where we could gather again. We felt comfortable enough. We did it outside just in case. But Kelly and Jamie and a bunch of other people got together and made it work. It was a little different than our usual event, but I think it proved to us that if you sort of pay attention to some of the details, you can make it work. I don't know what the next event is. Hopefully we can get the retirees together in the fall. But things are changing, and things are changing quick. The one event, the rodeo, will probably happen. Not quite sure the format there, but the event that we keep pushing off that we've got to get back to is the annual recognition event in Wilson. So we'll get to that, but it was great to see the exemplary attendance. I think that's it. There are a lot of things on the activity report. There's no doubt that the region is coming back. I've been to a number, in the last couple of weeks, a number of events that, for 15, 18 months, just didn't happen. But it's just great to see people. Everyone wants to shake hands, which is really nice. There's still some hesitancy. It's great. So happy summer to everybody. We're gonna give you a very short break. We kind of finagled that August, September meeting, so we can kind of toggle, but you'll continue to get the regular updates. And if there's anything you need or anything you want to know, we like that.
Great, thank you, Carr. Anybody have any questions for Carr? Mark?
A couple comments first on COVID. Good news, I track the statistics pretty closely. Yesterday's report showed 0 new cases in Albany County for the first time. And there's been 0 fatalities for well over a week. So that's good news. The caution is that the Delta and Delta Plus aggressive variants are spreading in the U.S. I think last I heard it was about 20% Delta, and we don't know for sure how well the vaccines defend against those. But so far the numbers are very good. I noticed I had suggested that our messaging on our buses include wear a mask, and I did see a graphic version of that on the display showing below the nose across that, so that was really good. The other thing I want to mention in terms of looking forward, how much we can innovate depends on federal and state money. There are proposals to respond to the climate crisis, especially by dramatically reducing transit and electrification. The state funding bill didn't move, although it had majority support in both houses. Leadership didn't want to do it, so it didn't go to the floor. At the federal level, there are 8 infrastructure bills. Last news I saw, most or all of them have increased transit funding, but the outcome of that is impossible to predict. Politics are extremely complicated. And then the last suggestion, I was thinking the nature bus is very low. Another thing I would like to see that we can think about maybe for another year or two in the summer is buses from Albany, maybe the other Schenectady, Troy to Spag on weekends. There might be a market for that. Something to look at.
John's got good connections.
That's a couple of kicks on it.
Thank you, Mark. Any other comments, questions?
I just have a brief one. I just wanted to thank everybody who's been involved in the trolley with Schenectady County in particular. We've set up only on Thursdays, we do the trolley service in 2 separate locations, and it doesn't change, and it's gotten enough community traction. We did 30 first doses last week. It was shocking. So everything else is slug, 1, 5, if you're lucky, 30. So there's still people out there trying to find. Everybody loves it. Everyone loves a trolley. The staff loves a trolley because they can go and cool off. So.
And we've got another part to it.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. And Jamie gets bad when I don't mention some of these things, because she keeps track. But I think you all follow. There was a major fire, luckily, 2 days ago, Monday, and a lot of people displaced. We had buses there, schooling stations. You may have seen it on the news. But this is sort of what we do, how we do it. Calls come in, and we're literally right behind the fire trucks. And we needed cooling stations, and of course, it was 100. Well, the air temperature was 100 degrees. I don't know what the temperature was near the internal. It burned down the whole block. I'm not quite sure.
There's a
Yeah.
display up front.
Oh,
After the meeting.
the scooters are out front? Great. Get them
test rides. So
Right.
if anyone is interested in trying out the CTA scooters, we put them outside after you're done with your lunch, for free on your way out. We've got the team out there.
Oh, good, excellent.
A lot of work to do.
I very much enjoyed the social media posts for the scooter ride.
Well, if you brought out some big.
Just a couple of save the dates, like most organizations, APTA is also returning to some sense of normal. The Transit Board Member Seminar will be back on this year, and the dates for that are October 3rd to 5th. It's a Sunday to Tuesday. Denise and I both serve on the Executive Council for the Transit Board Member Committee, and we had the chance to review the agenda yesterday for the seminar. It looks pretty good. We would start on Sunday morning at 10 and conclude on Tuesday by noon, so people could travel back. That is in Philadelphia, so reachable by train or car even. And then the annual conference, I'm sorry, one more thing on that. The October 3rd to 5th is a conglomeration of a lot of individual seminars. So marketing and communications will be held there. I think legal affairs, risk management, several of the individual conferences that are usually held, they're trying to pull those together into a bigger venue, partly because we had a contract with Philadelphia to host the annual conference that won't be an annual conference. So it should be a lot of folks there and a good chance for APTA to return to sort of a normal conference routine. November 11th through the 10th in Orlando is the annual conference, which is also an expo this year. The expo is something that APTA usually only holds once in 3 years. It can only be held in about 5 or 6 different locations around the country because of the size of the expo. So it's a great opportunity to see what's emerging as technology. There's buses, there's locomotives, there's all kinds of IT. There's basically anything that's available to purchase in the transit industry is on display at the expo. So in Orlando, again, a fairly easy place for us to get to on the East Coast. But
Thanks to Dave, we've already booked some rooms at a early bird rate.
Which date is that?
November 8th through the 10th, that's a Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah, most of the stuff that you might want to, if you go, you might want to get down Sunday for sure. A lot of stuff starts on Sunday.
And I don't know whether everybody knows or not, but Denise is now an APTA board member as of a couple months ago. So very nice to welcome her to the board. It's one of 100 and some odd of us. But she's been very involved in the Transit Board Member Committee for a long time, and I'm happy that she was interested in taking a bigger role.
Great, that's good to hear.
Thank you for supporting that.
Yeah. Anything else from anyone? So far, our board member comments worked really well.
Great.
Perfect.
This is the new and improved version. We took off some
I
stuff.
like it.
Yeah.
The ascertain
Streamlined,
quorum is
yeah.
always awkward.
Jackie, there's a story behind every one of those.
Oh, I can only
And they're
imagine.
attributed usually to a board member.
Yes.
Well, there's no one here.
So the committees, we're kind of taking a hiatus, as Carm said. The committee meetings will be in the last week of August, and the next board meeting is September 1st at noon here at 110 Waterville Avenue. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Sorry, Pat, forgot there.
There you go.
Party started already, huh?
I might try to do this